Detective Marcus Reynolds uncovered a deadly conspiracy where racism was the weapon and justice the target. Betrayed by colleagues and ambushed in his own home, he faced a chilling warning. Stop Reynolds at all costs. What he did next will shock even the most hardened. But let's start at the beginning. Detective Marcus Reynolds stepped out of his unmarked car, the cool night air brushing against his face as he surveyed the darkened warehouse. Located at the desolate edge of town, the structure loomed against the starless sky, its metal siding weathered and streaked with rust. The area was unnervingly quiet, the usual city sounds replaced by the occasional rustle of wind through the surrounding overgrown weeds. The call had come in only minutes ago. A suspected break-in, reported by a passing trucker who had seen the faint glow of a light through one of the broken windows. Marcus adjusted his badge at his belt and retrieved a flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness as he approached the building. The faint crunch of gravel underfoot was the only sound, amplifying the eerie stillness that wrapped around the scene. The warehouse door creaked as Marcus pushed it open, the sound reverberating through the cavernous space. His flashlight illuminated stacks of wooden crates and metal shelves, many covered in layers of dust that hinted at long-term neglect. Yet, recent footprints in the dust told a different story. Someone had been here, and recently. Marcus's sharp eyes followed the trail, his movements slow and deliberate. The air inside was heavy with a mix of oil and damp metal, the faintest trace of something chemical lingering. The beam of his flashlight caught the shimmer of an object on the ground, a half-empty can of construction foam, its nozzle streaked with fresh residue. Next to it, a tangle of wires and improvised tools lay scattered as if someone had left in a hurry. Then he saw it, a wallet, its leather scuffed but still intact, lying partially open on the ground. Marcus knelt, his gloved fingers brushing against its surface as he flipped it open. A glint of gold caught his eye, a senator's badge. The identification inside read, William Harris, accompanied by a photo of the man himself, the familiar face of one of the most prominent voices for racial equality in the country. Marcus's brow furrowed in confusion. Why would the senator's belongings be here, amidst evidence of a break-in? The implications sent a chill down his spine. As he leaned in closer, the faint sound of a hiss reached his ears. It was barely audible, blending with the warehouse's ambient creaks and groans. But instinctively, Marcus froze. His eyes darted toward the can of foam, just as the trap activated. A powerful jet of construction foam shot out from a hidden mechanism, its sticky, fast-expanding substance enveloping his hands and arms before he could react. Marcus stumbled back, the flashlight clattering to the floor and rolling away, its beam creating erratic patterns on the walls. The foam hardened almost instantly, immobilizing his arms and locking his hands in place. The acrid smell of chemicals filled his nostrils as he assessed the situation, his mind racing. Someone had gone to great lengths to set this trap. It wasn't random. Whoever had been here anticipated being followed and wanted to send a message, or cover their tracks. As Marcus struggled against the rapidly solidifying foam, his thoughts turned to the wallet and the senator it belonged to. Why Harris? And who would go to such extremes to tie him to this scene? The questions burned in Marcus's mind as he realized this wasn't just a simple break-in. It was the opening act of a much larger, more insidious plot. The revelation of Senator William Harris's wallet at the crime scene sent shockwaves through both the public and private spheres. As the news broke, media outlets pounced on the story, crafting salacious headlines that suggested a double life for the senator. Despite his long-standing reputation as a civil rights icon and reformist, Harris found himself at the center of a controversy he could not have anticipated. Detective Marcus Reynolds, recovering from the humiliating foam incident, watched the unraveling narrative with growing unease. In the precinct, the air was thick with murmurs of doubt, and Marcus could feel the weight of his colleagues' skepticism. The senator's prominence and Marcus's own identity as an African-American officer only intensified the scrutiny. "You sure you're the right guy for this?" Captain Mitchell had remarked, his tone casual, but his words laden with condescension. "I mean, we wouldn't want biases to cloud your judgment." The captain's smirk and the pointed emphasis on biases made Marcus's jaw tighten, but he refused to let the comment provoke him. Determined to prove his integrity and uncover the truth, Marcus dived deeper into the investigation. The trail led him to startling connections. The warehouse wasn't just an ordinary abandoned property. It was registered under a shell company with a murky history. A closer look revealed the company's involvement in funding organizations known for perpetuating hate speech and undermining racial equality movements. Piecing together the fragments of evidence, Marcus uncovered a disturbing pattern. Harris had been the target of increasing hostility ever since his recent push for sweeping police reforms. The senator's proposed policies, aimed at greater accountability and transparency within law enforcement, had sparked fierce opposition from entrenched factions. Death threats, anonymous messages, and now the warehouse incident painted a clear picture of a coordinated effort to silence and discredit him. Marcus's investigation revealed that the construction foam trap was no accident. It was an orchestrated move designed to humiliate and neutralize him. By targeting both the senator and Marcus, the perpetrators aimed to tarnish the credibility of two prominent African Americans fighting for justice, while sending a chilling message to others who dared to challenge the status quo. Despite the mounting pressure and the thinly veiled racism within his own department, Marcus pressed on. Each discovery strengthened his resolve, and each piece of the puzzle brought him closer to exposing the network of corruption and hatred that sought to undermine not just individuals, but the very ideals they represented. The case was no longer just about a break-in. It was a battle for truth and justice in a system riddled with prejudice. The tension in Marcus Reynolds' life had become a constant hum, a low-grade warning he couldn't ignore. For days, he had noticed the dark sedan lingering a little too long in his rearview mirror, always disappearing when he turned to confront it. At home, the faint click on his phone line confirmed his suspicions. Someone was listening. But Marcus pressed on, determined to uncover the truth about the warehouse break-in and its ties to Senator Harris. Late one evening, in the solitude of his home office, Marcus pored over grainy footage from the warehouse security cameras. The dim light from his desk lamp cast long shadows on stacks of papers and evidence bags scattered across his desk. The stillness of the night seemed absolute, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves outside. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. The desk lamp flickered once, then died. Marcus froze, his pulse quickening. The quiet was oppressive, suffused with a palpable tension. He reached for his Glock, but before he could grasp it, he heard a faint creak behind him, a single, deliberate step on the hardwood floor. A masked figure lunged from the shadows, wielding a taser. Marcus instinctively dodged as the prongs crackled past his shoulder, the scent of burnt ozone filling the air. His training kicked in. Using the momentum of his turn, he slammed his chair into the assailant, sending the intruder staggering. Papers flew from the desk, scattering like snow in the dim light of a flashlight Marcus managed to grab. The two men clashed violently. A shelf toppled, spilling books and case files. Marcus felt the sharp sting of a blow to his ribs, but responded with a precise elbow strike to his attacker's chest. Finally, with a swift pivot, he disarmed the intruder and forced him to the ground, pinning him with his weight. Breathing heavily, Marcus yanked off the intruder's ski mask, revealing Officer Ryan Griggs, a familiar face from the precinct, known for his disdainful attitude toward reform and Harris. Using the flashlight, Marcus rummaged through Griggs's belongings, uncovering a smartphone filled with damning evidence, plans to plant Senator Harris's wallet, the design of the foam trap, and a chilling message. Make sure Reynolds doesn't get any closer. This wasn't random. It was a calculated attack to discredit both Marcus and Harris. But now, Marcus had proof. The fight wasn't over, but this was a critical blow against the forces working to destroy them. Armed with concrete evidence, Marcus presented his findings to the media and the police commissioner. The truth sent shockwaves through the community. A faction within law enforcement was exposed for its attempts to sabotage Harris's work. Public outcry led to arrests and reforms. The senator, initially painted as a suspect, emerged as a hero. In a heartfelt press conference, Harris acknowledged Marcus's bravery, calling him a beacon of justice in a corrupted system. Marcus's journey highlighted the dual battles faced by black professionals, fighting systemic racism while striving to uphold justice. The case became a turning point for the city, inspiring trust between the community and law enforcement. Yet Marcus knew the fight was far from over. This victory was just one step in a much larger battle for equality.